You know how I'm always talking about creativity and that creative pathway? In this video, I'm going to explain exactly what I mean. I have another video I did a long time ago. It's here if you want to go take a look at it, and it's a very minimal kind of response, but here I want to get into it just a little bit more, just flush it out a little bit and see if it makes sense to you like it does to me. Basically, I have this idea, and the idea is this: we are creative channels. Creativity is out there. Creativity has always been there. Creativity is never blocked. Creativity is an energy as frequent as oxygen. Would you consider oxygen an actual energy, or is it, I don't actually know about that, but you know what I mean. It is something that is always there. There are no creative blocks. None. There aren't any. They can't happen. It's an impossibility because the creative energy is always available. We, however, can block ourselves from that creativity. And that's what this pathway is for me. I have taken it from the 7 major chakras and what they mean and kind of adapted it to creativity for artists. In fact, I have found that every single thought, everything that I am aware of at any rate, maybe you guys can find things that don't fit in with this, but generally I think most of our ideas and decisions and manifestations kind of all go along the same pathway. So with that, let's get started. My name is Vita Evenson and I paint grease. Okay, so here we have creativity. And what I want to show here is how this energy, which is, it's just out there, it's way beyond anything that we can latch onto or understand. But the way that I see it is that we open up to this creativity and we allow it to come into our minds. So when we have an idea, we have this, a thought comes to our minds, and it can often be very, very abstract, like we haven't quite latched onto it. We're looking at something and suddenly it like all gels together, like, oh, that would make a great painting. And then, that is this area right here. So up in this area here is awareness. This is the area where we connect to that immense creative energy and we become aware of whatever it is. We're going to talk painting here, but it could be anything. I hope this light doesn't bother you. Let me turn it off. That's better. Okay, so we have this awareness. We become aware of something that we want to paint. And then we begin this infinite creative energy. In order for us to use it, we must begin to limit it, to siphon it down, and to bring it in so that we as human beings can use it and manifest our ideas, whatever they may be. So it begins with becoming aware, and then it moves into this area in our third eye area, right? The 6th chakra area, where we spend a moment in fantasy. We spend a moment with the imagination of it, with the inspirations that are happening, with the visualizations that we're imagining what this painting might look like, right? And we're playing with it. What would it look like if we did this? What if we changed the tree? What if we, right? You are putting things together in your imagination. There are no boundaries here, none. So we're not limited very much. It's just beginning to put that creative energy in a very, very wide, loose sphere with no real boundaries around it. And so it's funneling through. All right, inspiration and visualization. That's the areas here. We've got this area right up here. We have the third eye. Then we move down to the throat chakra, which has to do with communicating your idea. And it can be all sorts of types of communication, right? It doesn't have to be verbal. In the chakra, it is sound waves. It is a verbal communication. It is how you communicate with the world. But for artists in this kind of thing, it is about bringing in even more that creative energy. And since you have gone through the visualization of it, you're coming now into, okay, this is how I see it. And it is the communication of that idea. It is the beginnings. It's the notan. It's a 3-value sketch. It's maybe a pencil sketch of how you want to put the composition together, the things that you're imagining about your potential painting. And you may tell a friend, you may talk to your other artist friends and say, hey, I have this idea, I'm thinking about doing this. You know, I'm considering doing it like an expressionist type because it has that feel about it, or I'm going to do a real strict realism on this painting. And you're communicating that idea out. You haven't actually started, but you're putting it together. And then when you get to this area and you move down to the heart center, this is the area where you allow that energy to come through, or you let it go and you're like, nah, not interested, not going to do that one. And then whoosh, it's gone. It's gone back up into the creative realm. And I imagine it's being downloaded to somebody else who is interested in doing that particular type of painting. So this is the area, it's the heart area. We equate that with love. And when we have love, we have a deep basin of allowing. We allow people, we allow feelings, we allow all sorts of different things to happen when we are in the space of the heart. And we have to remember that the heart is in the midpoint between these upper abstract chakra areas, are areas of our own reality. These are the abstract areas. You can't actually pick it up and touch it. It's not physical. It's up here. It's up here. And then we come to the heart, which is the balance point, right? And now we move down into the physical area. So if you come down, you're funneling down into the heart area and you're like, yes, yeah, let's do this one. Then you take the area of the solar plexus, which is right about here, right? Just below your rib cage in your solar plexus. And this is the area of your personal ego. This is the area where you need to come in and fully accept and allow and love that ego of yours, because that is the part of you that is going to pull the reins all the way through the full manifestation of this idea. So, this area has to do with making the decision, getting things ready, putting your willpower into, yeah, we are going to paint this painting. Let's go. And you come into your studio and you put your painting together. You find the canvas size that you want. You work on the different color schemes that you might use in this painting, preparing your canvas, getting all of that ready. You're getting the materials ready. This is the fire element where things are like they're burning, and your ego is the one that is in charge of putting that together. So I'm putting that in and emphasizing it so that we can begin to like let go of that whole ego bashing thing that, if you're older like me, you grew up with that. It was just part of the culture. You cannot have an ego. It's a bad thing. No! Your ego is not bad. Your ego is necessary for your survival here on this earth. And your ego is necessary for your work in your tiny little studios. So I want you to think about that and rethink about that this area here in your solar plexus, in your gut, is like, yeah, let's go with that. Okay? So we have solar plexus, which is the area of willpower. Because without your willpower and your decision to do this painting, it ain't going to get done. And then, what's the point? And I really, really do focus on this area because this is where I have always been shut down and blocked for most of my life. So I would get all these great ideas, no matter what they were, not only with painting, but just generally in my life. Oh, I'm going to go do this. And then I would put it all together, and I would get it to my solar plexus and just clamp down, just shut down. And it never came to fruition. And so this was the area that I really needed to open up, unblock, so that I could allow the creativity to come into me, to pass through this point, because it always got stuck and disappeared. Always. And I'm 60. So for most of my life, that's what was going on. I mean, for the past 50 years, that's pretty much what was going on. And I kept shutting myself down again and again and again. Once you have put in the determination and you've got that willpower, that fire going, you come to your easel and you begin the creative dance. And this is where you and the creative energy come together and you work together to create this painting. And you know what that's like, right? When you're in that zone, I mean, you know what it's like to be in the zone, right? And you're painting, and it's almost as if you don't even hear your own thoughts. You are being told or shown what to do. No, not that brush stroke there. No, do it this way. And you're like, oh yeah. And you're just in the zone and you lose sense of your time. There's no real tick-tocking going on in your mind. You're just there. Your creative energy, and your painting. And you are co-creating that painting together. So this is the area of creation. where you are actually creating your painting. So the idea is coming in and you're bringing it down. You can see how it gets more limited and more limited and more limited. We come to the act of painting the painting. You're at the easel, you're mixing your paints, you're putting it together, you're doing all the layers, you're doing the style that you love to paint or that's working for this particular painting. And then you sign your name and you put it out into the world, okay? So that would be like giving birth to your artwork, to your idea. Everything, to a greater extent, all runs across the same pattern. Let's take a real easy, simple, everyday thought that we don't really analyze. It's like, oh, I gotta go wash the dishes. So say you're in here painting and whatever, and you have the thought, I have to go wash the dishes. I gotta wash the dishes. What's happening? You're becoming aware that you need to go wash the dishes. Then almost immediately, you will visualize your kitchen sink, right? With the dishes in it. Maybe you're imagining the kitchen sink when it's all nice and clean. Doesn't matter. You're visualizing what this thought that came in. It's getting more limited. It's getting more dense. And then from there, you state some kind of communication, even if it's just a thought in your mind. Oh, gotta go wash the dishes. Or maybe you tell somebody, I'm gonna finish this up, go wash the dishes, and then we'll go, I don't know, to the movies. And so you're communicating it in some way. And then you come down into the heart area and you're like, am I gonna allow this to happen now, or am I gonna put it off for later? Let's say you allow it to happen. So you're like, okay, yeah, let's go do that. And you've made the decision in the solar plexus, yep, let's go do it right now. And you put down your painting stuff. You walk into the kitchen, you get the soap ready, and you start washing the dishes. The creation. You are in your creative energy. You create the creative energy that said we got to wash the dishes and the kitchen sink with the dishes in it, right? You are creating a clean sink. You are creating washed dishes. And, think about it, right? And then you step back, you've cleaned off everything, and you look at it and you're like, that's done. And then you go on and do something else. But you can see how the easiest, tiniest, everyday thoughts also run along that same pathway. And I just wanted to come through that and just talk about it a little bit more. We have the abstract areas, and this is the physical areas. So when we get into the solar plexus, we're in the physical world. These are the areas, this is why the ego is so important, because the ego is an energy within us that is necessary for our survival. We need it. We can't do anything without the ego. So let's quit bashing the ego and start loving our ego. That doesn't mean you let the ego come up here and take hold of you. It's just a part of us, and it's valid and it's useful and a beautiful thing if we can just, let go of the bombardment of negativity that has been around the ego. So this is the physical area. This is where most people get stuck in creative blocks. Not so much up here. It can happen. But most people are stuck here in creative blocks. And again, let me emphasize, creativity can never be blocked. It is always flowing through us. It is always there, and it will always be there, even when we're gone. So the thing is understanding how this works. And then let's Let's change this.
We have a painting with some mountains and some trees and a road.
So we come out, we give birth to our painting, which was a creativity. It was abstract. It was completely ungraspable. Is that a word? It was completely something that is unattainable in our physical world, but because we limited that creativity as it comes in through us, we limit it. When we get to the heart area and we allow ourselves to move it into the physical reality, then we can go and start putting together paintings. That's when we make it physical. And in this physical realm, sometimes we get stuck. This was my area here in the solar plexus. I was just siphoned off, all blocked, and things would come in and then I would never finish them. I would never manifest them. They just went away. And I spent most of my life up here because of that. When I came into my tiny little studio and I began painting and I began uploading these videos on YouTube, that was something that there's no way I would have ever done this. Ever. There's no way I would have done it. I was continually blocking myself, and I just started uploading videos. I just started painting. Latched on to the good enough idea because in the ego, perfectionism can take over because my ego was not in balance with the rest of me. It was pretty much running the show. So it was locked in that perfectionist thing. And I latched on to the good enough. It's good enough. We'll just do a painting and it'll be good enough. And let's see what happens. Let's see what we can learn. And very quickly, I got over that fear of failure in my paintings. And my paintings were bad, like all beginner painters. Mine were awful, like everybody else's. And it was no big deal. My first videos that I uploaded were awful. They may still be awful, but I think they're a little bit better than they were when I first started. So it's just a matter of actually pulling it through and giving birth to these various creations. So that's how I think about creativity, how I come into my studio and work with all of these different thoughts. And it's how I know how to release any creative blocks that I'm having. Because when I know where they're coming from, which area is blocked, and for me, it's almost always here, it's almost always there, but sometimes it can be in my first chakra area as well. I know how to release it. I know how to work through it and allow it to just kind of let go of that clenched, clamping down, limiting feeling, that siphoning off of this beautiful creative energy coming through me. I hope that makes more sense for you. If you've got any questions, please let me know below. And oh my goodness, if you have your own idea of creativity and how it works through you, I want to hear about it. I want to know. I would love to search this topic even more. This is what I use and what works for me, but I want to hear what works for you. All right, you guys, be inspired. Oh, let's get into that for a minute. That whole be inspired, be creative, be you thing that I always say, that also is here. Be inspired is all of this area up here. Be inspired, right? When that creative energy comes in and you become aware, and that inspiration where you're like, oh, yeah, be inspired. Being creative is all of it. It's the entire thing. It's the entire opening into this inner channel, right, of putting a painting together. and manifesting out into the world. Being you has to do mostly with this physical area, right? That's part of it. But the other part of when I say be you means that only you can express and manifest that creative energy in your own special way. Nobody else can do it like you. When we embrace the physical aspect of who we are and the abstract aspect of who we are, and we embrace it in that balance in the heart area of love and allowing, you become your authentic, powerful, beautiful self. And only you can paint and express those creative ideas wherever they're coming from, with your voice, with your vision, with your love. And that is why I'm always talking about that creative energy and this inner creative channel. I hope that helps you understand more about me and how I think in my tiny little studio, and I would love to hear more about you. With that, be inspired, be creative, be you.